Hello everyone, I'm Chris, and I am the first Cav Trucker. Creating this channel as an informational guide for people who are thinking about getting into the trucking industry, or who are just curious about what it's like to get into this particular industry. I drove for CR England a little over 3 years ago now, for a year. And I drove over the road, and I also drove Midwest Regional Fleet. Achieved Midwest Regional Driver of the Quarter, which is to be picked out of 150 drivers. You have to hit every single bonus category that's eligible to be hit. And there's 5 different categories for that at that particular time for CR England. And I hope to reduce the anxiety for people who are looking to get into this field and who really don't know what they're getting into, and they're just generally nervous because there's a lot of fear when you first get there about what's going to happen. A lot of people don't know what to expect when they go to a truck driving company. What does orientation entail? What is getting in the truck with a trainer, with a total stranger, for several days or several weeks, depending on your experience, going to mean for me when I have to do that? So my hope is to be able to pass on a little bit of my experiences and to debunk some of the rumors that people state on YouTube about things that happen as a norm within the industry. And I think that's perspective, along with too reasonable or too unreasonable of a expectation of what this industry will provide for them, or not really knowing what they're getting themselves into before they start this. A lot of people really have no clue what they're getting themselves into when they go to this, and they don't necessarily have the passion for it, but it's like a last stop or a last chance, or they feel that way at a good career if they don't have a college education, or even if they do have a college education. Some people have a college education and end up finding out they just don't want to do what it is that they're doing, and I can vouch for that myself because I have a 4-year degree in business administrations, and I'm even currently pursuing my master's in business administration. So truck drivers come from all walks of life. They're a little bit of everybody. Some people get into it for the tourism. Realistically speaking, that doesn't happen a lot. You don't spend a lot of time looking at a lot of sites. You spend a lot of time driving by a lot of sites. I hope to be able to pass on a little bit of knowledge. Again, I only drove for a year with CR England. Today is Sunday, right here at the end of November. I'm turning in my 2 weeks notice to my current employer, where I work as a payroll administrator and human resources specialist. Hardly making anything. I thought if I got my college degree, man, my income would just skyrocket. That turns out that's not the case. And I have a lot of college debt now, and I need to pay off that debt. And I have a son that's going to be going into college, so I really would like to give him the opportunity to go to college and get out debt-free, which was not an opportunity that was provided to me. If you have a curiosity about truck driving, if you're curious about the lifestyle, if you'd like to have just some entertainment and follow a guy who's driving around the country trying to figure it all out again, then I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. Spend a little bit of time with me. Hopefully I can pass on some of the knowledge that I gained working for CR England within a year. I don't believe the complete stereotype that you can't learn a lot in a short amount of time, because you can. Regional driver of the quarter, and I had, at that time, 8-9 months experience, and I was out driving guys that had 5 to 10 years experience. I have driven all over the country. I've only missed a few states. I haven't driven in Montana, North Dakota, or South Dakota, and of course I'm missing Alaska and Hawaii. So I've done Donner's Pass out in California. I've driven over Laramie in Wyoming. So I've done the whole Interstate 80 stretch. I understand how mountains work. I understand how scary a mountain can be for a new driver. I hope to pass on some experience on that subject. And then I also just hope to be able to make everybody a little bit more knowledgeable about what they're getting into. The position I've been offered as a driver is with Schaefer Trucking, which is one of the Crete Carrier Corporation umbrella organizations. So Crete has 3 divisions. They have Crete, which is the dry van division. They have Schaefer, which is the reefer division. And then they have Hunt Transportation, which is the flatbed division. Anybody who knows who CR England is knows that it is a predominantly reefer division carrier. Almost every single one of their trailers has a reefer on it. So it's kind of nice to be able to go back into something that I already understand. Schaefer was kind enough to give me an opportunity. I got offers from several companies, but the amount of pay that they're going to offer me for driving in the northeastern region is just simply unmatched. That's not a recruiting gimmick to go with them or anything. I strongly encourage everyone to research your options wherever you live and try to pick out the best organization that works for you. Uh, Read the ratings, talk to drivers from that organization, see how they feel. If you're having difficulty communicating with them on social media, go to a truck stop. You're going to find drivers from all the major companies that take on new drivers at truck stops. And if some of them aren't busy, if they're just sitting in the truck, and this may seem stupid, but some of them don't mind just talking to people and answering questions. You could also just sit inside and wait for some guy to come out of his truck after he's fueled up and he's just waiting to get a receipt and ask him a couple of questions. But the reason why I chose to go with Creek Carrier is when I got into the industry, they were the organization that I wanted to go with in the first place. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have the opportunity to go to a school that they approved of, so I needed to get some experience. With that came the time that I had to, go to CR England's truck driving school, which is now closed down in Richmond, Indiana. That time was very stressful, and it's going to be stressful for anyone that has to go to one of those types of schools where you go in and within 17 days you come out with a Class A CDL. You don't know what the heck you're doing. You can barely shift the truck. You can conduct the maneuvers that were required to pass the test, but you don't really know much. And it's pretty scary hopping into that truck carrying, 80,000 pounds total weight down the highway and hoping to God that you don't kill someone when you start. So I understand that anxiety, and I hope that if you're watching this, that you get the opportunity to see what it's like to go through an orientation, to get on a truck with a stranger and a trainer, and hopefully you pick an organization that doesn't require team driver training style training, and that's what CR England does. It was not my first choice, but it was the choice that worked at the time. In fact, when I went to school in Richmond, Indiana, we had 120 drivers or potential drivers start the school, and within the first week we were down to 50 because people couldn't pass their permit requirements. They didn't have documentation to prove where they lived. They didn't pass the drug screens. They didn't pass their medicals. They didn't pass the basic abilities test to be able to get in and out of a truck or to lift. There's a whole slew of reasons that you can be disqualified for driving if you don't know what they are and you don't know how to head them off before you even get there. And then by the time we finished, I think we had a total of maybe 15 to 25 of us out of 120 that finished the 17-day course to get the Class A CDL. And then I hopped onto a truck with someone who I still call a very close friend. His name's Chris Thomas. He drives with Hunt Transportation, and I respect his opinions. And I asked him what he thought of Crete after he had gotten out of CR England and went on to another company, and then he ended up getting on at Crete, and he said they were just a stand-up operation, so I gave him a call and ended up going Northeast Regional. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask just in general, this has literally started 2 days after I found out that I'm going to be working for Schaefer Trucking. So I'm literally, after this video, generating the letter for my resignation of my position at my current employer. I plan to put out about 2 to 3 videos a week, and this is just simply to be able to inform people of the process of getting ready to go to a trucking company, what to expect, how they have what to expect when expecting for pregnant mothers, and they have what to expect during your first year when you have a toddler. But there's no giant guide out there that can prepare you for jumping into an 18-wheeler, and that's unfortunate. And I hope that this chronicle will be able to help people understand what it takes. And I'm not saying that there are unrealistic expectations in the trucking industry. I'm just simply stating that people don't know what they're getting into at times, and they have a lot of anxiety, and I'm hoping to reduce that. A lot of people think it's just getting into a truck, planning out your trip, and getting there. But a lot of people don't understand what happens when you get there. How long do you wait there? My plan is to give people a little bit more perspective on that. I plan on taking timers of how long I'm at specific shippers and receivers, explaining the process of what happens when you get there, how you sign for your load, how you properly assign that load to your truck, accept that load assignment if one's assigned to you prior to getting there, or if you don't know what trailer you're getting when you get there, you know how to assign that trailer to your truck. Effective communication is key. I know a lot of drivers that told me that they weren't making any money, and I'm not talking about just lease operators for CRing. I'm talking about company drivers. And it seemed like there was a common thread as to why that wasn't happening, why they weren't getting paid very well, why they weren't reaching those goals. And it was purely lack of communication. Your driver manager controls your check, and your ability to communicate and be friendly with your driver manager will seriously impact your amount of money you make in truck driving if you're with a company. That being said, it doesn't mean that you should be pushed over. It doesn't mean that you should roll over at every second when your driver manager tells you to do something. You should never endanger the public when you drive. You should always be careful, plan accordingly, and just communicate over and over again with your driver manager. Some people think I get in here, and I've heard the people that told me the most ridiculous statement when they got in their truck and got a load assigned to them and picked it up, is when their driver manager would ask them, when are you going to be there? What's your ETA, your estimated time of arrival? And these drivers would tell them, I'll get there when I get there. Well, that's fine. You may get there when you get there, but if that load delivers, several hundred miles away, and I'm not talking about cross country, I'm just talking about a basic concept of 300 to 400 miles, something that you could drive in a day. And if you didn't tell your driver manager, I'm not talking about like vast amounts. So something you could drive in 2 to 3 days. And then you're telling your driver manager that you'll be there when you get there, but you're going to deliver it on time. The driver manager is trying to tell that rookie driver or that new person that's just come onto their fleet, hey, if you tell me you're going to get there early, and there's another driver there with almost no hours at the location where you're at, I'll let you drop off that load with him, and I'll give you a load that's going somewhere else that'll let you drive and maximize your time. But a lot of drivers don't do that. It's a very basic fundamental concept of communication with your driver manager, is to ensure that you're telling them when you're available to drive, when you're going to get there, and when after you offload you'd be available again to roll down the road again. And a lot of people don't do that. And that's part of the process of where I think a lot of people that I drove with just didn't get that. They heard in truck driving school, drive and be safe, drive and be safe. And that's right. Yes, drive and be safe. But communicate with your driver manager. Tell them, hey, I've got, 40 hours of drive time. I'm going to be there, in 11 to 24 hours. And not being that vague, tell them specifically, hey, this is how many miles I have to go. This is how far I can drive each day. You're going to be able to plan that out. You're going to know how that works. When you do that and you do it the right way, your driver manager is going to want to work with you because you are going to be a person that delivers loads for him on time. Another thing people don't think about when they get into truck driving is how is it going to affect their personal lives. When I first got into truck driving, I was married. As soon as I left the house, she just went absolutely crazy and just didn't really get the concept that, my job was a job that was providing income, and I had to do my job the right way, which meant that I couldn't just pull over anywhere and just talk to her for hours on end because she got lonely, or text her at any time of the day because I could be driving. There's going to be times where you're going to be sleeping, so it's tough at times. It can be very nerve-wracking. So there has to be some expectations that you pass along to your family before you begin this adventure. When you hop into a truck with a trainer, you cannot expect that he's going to be understanding to the fact that you've got a problem going on at home, because he may have one at home too. But he understands that he's been there for a little bit longer, and he knows that that load that you guys are driving needs to get there on time and gets there safely. Set some realistic expectations with your family before you leave. Help them to understand what's going to be involved. And if you don't know, ask someone. I hope this is informative for people. That's the whole objective of this. I also plan on giving away, it's a little bit of an incentive for people to follow my channel. Entries are based off of your subscriptions to my YouTube channel, comments and likes to the channels. My objective is to make this as informative for people who are getting into the industry as possible. People who are new, who aren't understanding why they aren't doing so well. And it could just be a bad driver manager. You could have one that's new, doesn't understand what he's doing. But you could also have a phenomenal one, and you could just be screwing up the relationship with him and not even realizing it. Hopefully, I can pass on a little bit of knowledge to everybody. Give a little bit back to truck drivers out there that want to follow and listen to what I have to say. Comment on what I have to say. I know my first giveaway is going to be determined at the end of January, which is a Blue Parrot XLT headset. And if anybody has ever driven and used one, they know they're phenomenal. They last forever. They have amazing sound cancellation. Anyone you're speaking to on the phone will not be able to hear the engine of your truck running. So it's a phenomenal piece of equipment. There'll be other giveaways in the future. I plan on giving away Rand McNally GPSs and other products that I personally think that people would benefit from having in their truck with them when they go down those roads and you don't know where you're going, or you need to get in touch with someone. Hopefully the stuff that I give people is useful. I encourage everyone to leave comments and questions specifically. If there's a subject out there that you have a question on that you haven't really seen a YouTube video covered by any other truck driver, because I know there's a ton of questions, and some of the basic ones, a lot of the basic questions have been answered. I know I have plenty of people on here that I followed before I ever got into truck driving, and one of the best ones was Big Rig Talk. His name's Jerry. He's a driver from Canada. He gave me a real understanding of what to expect during that first year of truck driving. You're going to have some growing pains. You're going to have some frustrating times. The weather's not always perfect. It sucks getting stuck on top of a mountain with snow falling down to where your truck is just sliding off the pavement. I've been there. And I've also been waiting at a truck stop for Mount Laramie to clear up and be cleared by the Wyoming Department of Transportation so that trucks were safe to drive over it again. I've had students. I had 3 students that I took on for an average of 45 days. And I'd have to say, I've got some interesting stories about those experiences, and I plan on passing those along in future videos because the content of it's just comical. Some of the things people will do when they get in a truck, it's just like you get into this machine and you just forget where you are, forget what you're doing, just completely lose your mind. Or leave it at home with you. So, hopefully if I can give on some knowledge, I encourage everyone to subscribe, not just new drivers, people who are interested in the industry, people who are enthusiasts of the truck driving lifestyle, have questions about what it's like to be out there. And I also encourage people to reach out and get in touch with me. firstcavtrucker@gmail.com. That's my email address, and I will respond to everyone as fast as I can. I plan on, in the future, meeting up with people as I go along in the New England area, or in the Northeast region. If I run into other drivers who have YouTube channels, I would love to meet up with you guys and just chat sometime when you're up in this area. And hopefully I can just give people a little bit of entertainment value and an insight into an experience that few ever get to experience. But I do think that me being a military veteran does help, because getting into a truck and living in a closet, that takes dedication. It takes a lot of nerve. It can get lonely. Again, if you want to leave any questions or comments below, feel free to, and let me know what you want to see. And I have to say, I do enjoy truck driving, and I've missed it. Getting out of the industry to go back to college was a wise decision. My future ambitions is to own my own trucking company. So I'm hoping to gain a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience talking to other drivers who are owner-operators and see how they are being successful in this industry. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them below. And until next time, First Cav Trucker out.